Hi friends. So today I want to talk about hierarchy and some points I think are negative about it. I wanted to make this video now while I still have kind of a raw opinion that is not affected by the company yet, so that in the future when I look back on this video I could kind of see how or if my opinion has changed at all over time. Um, I guess I will try to break it down into 3 points that I find are negative about hierarchy. And number one, I feel, is that uh, through the system, there's an expectation of return at the end of it. So of course, even when I say hierarchy, there are many different styles of it across the world in general. I'll probably have to create some assumptions beforehand, but I guess the assumption of a hierarchical culture that I'm going to use an example for today's video is that it's a very Japanese system where the people within the system work pretty much their whole life in the company, and the hierarchy is kind of promoted through behavioral interactions and communications that are kind of established and expected and differ based off of your ranking within the system. And finally, it's enforced pretty hard, or is expected to kind of the behavior is expected. So those are the big assumptions I'm going to set up. Anyways, so under those assumptions within that system, I feel that people who join it and live through it for most of their lives, it kind of creates an expectation of return at the end, where after you've bought into it and paid your due diligence into the system and following the pecking order and following the behavioral operations that are expected of you towards those who are above in age or seniority, will kind of instill in you a sense of kind of expectation of receiving the same once you have gone up the rank. And I think that could be an issue because, number one, the system could change at any time. And if the system does change, those who have paid into the system for so long, they're just going to be disappointed, devastated, and just feel that life is unfair because they've spent so much of their lives paying into it and now they don't receive it back as they thought they would. Another situation that could happen is that sometimes even when you're going up the ranks, you only go up to a certain level through aging, I think, but those who have higher expectations of themselves, or who believe they should be going up higher, they're just going to be disappointed too when they aren't, because a lot of times these systems may not have clear-cut rules or kind of explanations on how or why people go up higher than others. And so people are just going to get disappointed again there too. So I guess number one, people are going to have expectations and they could get really disappointed with it. Number two, why I think hierarchy system might not be the best is because it kind of inputs people to have feeling of unfairness towards others who aren't in the system. So when you're following the system, you're really kind of having to do, uh, sometimes you have to go the extra mile to follow the system. And so you're kind of sometimes maybe going through more stress, or maybe kind of having to do things that you wouldn't usually want to do, or against your own values. And yet you'll see others who are outside of the system not doing any of the things you're supposed to. That's just going to make you feel like things are unfair, and it could kind of bring negative stress or emotions to not only you, but those who are not in the systems, because you may either push them away or lash out or something because they aren't following your rules or the rules that you live in. And I also think that those who are within the system are much more sensitive to those who are not, who are outside of the system, because I think there may be a sense of uh, jealousy, or just kind of I don't know. I feel like those who uh, have to follow rules will notice those who aren't following rules a lot more. Uh, and so it'll make people more sensitive to people outside of the system, and potentially uh, make people uh, feel extra stress or frustrations for things that have nothing to do with them, just because they're seeing something that they wish they could have been doing, or they wish others wouldn't be doing. So yeah, I think that's number two for me. Just kind of this sense of frustration and unfairness towards others. And finally, I think it kind of molds an individual's way of thinking in a more constrictive way, I think. I don't know if it's bad, but I personally don't think it's the best. I feel like, and what I mean is that I feel like when you're in a system with so much rules, and especially if you join it at a young age, where you're kind of coming out into the real world for the first time, and you're just trying to fit in and learn everything and make sure you don't disappoint anyone or make mistakes, you're just going to absorb these rules that at least your environment is telling you that this is the way things are. And so you just kind of try to learn it, and then as soon as you get the rules and the system, you're kind of applauded, and then that kind of reinforces you to want to continue following the rules, kind of, I think. Not saying that, people can't get out of it or can't think outside of it, and I'm sure there's plenty of people, but like, I feel like over time, these cultures and systems are what kind of, I mean, to one extent you could argue it's brainwashing, but it kind of establishes how your brain kind of functions to certain inputs. And so I feel like it's not that it's impossible, but it makes it more difficult for someone to maybe think outside the box, or question the system, or think why about things, because the system itself, this hierarchical system, I feel like it kind of focuses so much on what's right and what's wrong. Anything within the system is right. Anything that's not part of the system is wrong or negative, kind of. And so everything just becomes black and white. And like I said before, you can't question the system because that's wrong. And yeah, you can't ask why sometimes, because not the system may not always make sense, or people might not know the real reason for the system in the first place. And so the default is it's the way the system has always been, and so you kind of default to that and follow that. I mean, I guess some people may not think that's a bad thing, and maybe it's not. I mean, but I personally, kind of being very free-minded, I feel like, don't like that kind of environment, I don't think, as much. And I also think, I guess this could be like a fourth reason that I'm just gonna add on suddenly, but like, it kind of promotes this need to maintain an image, because there's I think the assumption behind the system in the first place, is hierarchical system, is those who have lived longer than you, who have worked longer than you, have more experience and knowledge and wisdom and about life, about the work, and so they are kind of greater in the sense of wholeness and intelligence and everything, and so you need to respect that. And I don't think that's a bad thing, and so but I think that's kind of the assumption to some extent behind the system. But sometimes, I mean, nowadays, younger people have access to the internet, to knowledge base, and that older generations may not have had easy access to. So the learning curve could be different, and younger individuals, through using computers, could have greater output sometimes, because there's tools accessible to them that are more optimized than the tools that existed maybe for the previous generation. But anyways, so that's not the point. Like, I don't think the system is saying like it's all about the output or whatever, but I think as humans, there will be a tendency for maybe the older generation to kind of feel, or it doesn't even have to be older generation, it could just be between young people too, but a sense of insecurity in regards to your position, if you're technically supposed to be above based off of seniority or age. And so in that kind of situation, I feel like people will try to utilize other methods to maintain their image or their position that is beyond just output or whatever. Technically, it shouldn't be about output, I guess, but and so they may kind of avoid taking more risks, or they may try to find ways to push blame onto someone else, or I think people would just be really afraid to kind of break their image, which is based on this hierarchical system, due to human kind of fear. So I think that could be another negative point to a hierarchical system. People just become hyper sensitive to their self-image. I mean, I guess you could argue that people are already like that even without a hierarchical system, but I think a hierarchical system could promote that too, so, or even more, because it's a guideline with the assumption that you are greater due to your age and experience, or or you should be respected due to your greater life experience. So yeah, I think those are my thoughts regarding why I don't think a hierarchical system is very ideal. But I guess that's also under the assumption that people should be free and be able to do whatever they want, to think whatever they want, maybe. Or I don't know. I don't know what the other side would be. Something like that. Not saying that that's good or bad either, but it's I don't know. I guess I never really thought of it the other way around too much, where okay, so if it's not a hierarchy, then what kind of system should you have within a company? Because it could be difficult as humans to kind of maintain a system sometimes and order sometimes, and hierarchy is so effective, which is why it's been used for so long in human history. But yeah, I would like to think that there could be another way, and I will have to think more about it. So I hope future me will have found a way to do it. I mean, yeah, I just need to find a way to kind of, I think, have people relearn or change or update the meaning of respect to the current times, to the current situation of the world and the values and the morality of the current world. And also, I think another key part is to support and educate or develop the people within the company to a point where they're able to kind of understand and be able to respect each other without a system of hierarchy or that kind of ordering system. But yeah, I think it's hard. As long as we're all humans, we're gonna be emotional and illogical, and that might not always be the best for a running machine that is a company. At least that's how I think companies are right now. That could evolve too in the future. So yeah, so many things to think about. But I'm rambling again, so that's my thoughts on why I personally right now am not a fan of a hierarchical system. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you up again another time. Bye.